Hi, I'm Arin Arbus, and I'm so excited to return to the COC to direct this season's production of Verdi's La Traviata. There is so much to enjoy in this opera: extraordinary sets and costumes, show-stopping arias, and riveting drama. So my background is primarily in theater. For about a decade, I worked as the Associate Artistic Director at an off-Broadway classical theater company called Theater for New Audience. I directed a number of Shakespeare plays. I directed a production of Frankie and Johnny in the Clair de Lune by Terrence McNally on Broadway a couple years ago. So my background is varied, and I was late coming to the world of opera. Anthony Freud, who used to be the general director of Houston Grand Opera, saw a couple of productions of Shakespeare that I directed and invited me to direct an opera for HGO. That was Britten's The Rape of Lucretia, and Perrin Leach was working there at the time, and he walked me through the process of directing an opera, which is similar but different from the process of directing for theater. I love the scale of opera. To me, it is like total theater in that you have this incredibly powerful music that is doing the dramaturgical work that in a Shakespeare play you kind of have to do yourself. I love working with a lot of people on stage. I love working with a chorus. This production of Traviata, I think it has like 80 people on stage at one point, and it's exhilarating to get to work with that many people in the stage picture. Traviata is an incredible love story, an incredible tragic love story. The main character is a woman named Violetta, who is a sort of notorious courtesan in Paris in the 19th century. She is kind of at the height of society. She meets a young man from the country, Alfredo Germont, and they fall in love. And this love takes her away from Paris, and it takes her away from her life as a courtesan. And because of circumstances which you must come and watch the opera to learn about, that love is just sort of destroyed by the society that she lives in. To me, the piece has a lot to say to us now. The main character is this woman struggling to survive in a brutal world. You know, women had very limited options as to how they could make a living. And so Violetta's love of Alfredo, to me, is like a rebellion against the society that she lives in. She's fighting for something more pure than the world will allow her to have. This story is familiar to us, I think, because it is continually referenced in pop culture. We see references to it in Moulin Rouge, we see references to it in Pretty Woman, we hear clips of the music in movies all the time. It's an eternal story that I think we continually need to experience. I think it's important to remember that La Traviata scandalized the censors when it was originally written. Verdi and Piave were interested in setting it in their contemporary world, and the censors would not allow them to do that. They forced them to set it in the past. There were many compromises that Verdi made in the premiere, and it was poorly received by the audience. Reportedly, they were sort of with it for the first act, and they began to turn against the opera in Act Two. The night of the premiere, Verdi wrote a letter to his friend saying Traviata was a failure. So the opera begins in Violetta's home. She's throwing a big party. The courtesans have all dressed up. It's kind of a costume party. And so they are in extravagant ball gowns designed by the incredible costume designer Kate O'Connor. And they are playful, these gowns. There are some women with wings and with masks and with sticks that have hearts on them. We have imagined this party to be a dessert party, so that the men, the patrons of the courtesans, have probably had dinner at home with their families and children, and afterwards go out to Violetta's house for this party, where there is cakes and cookies and creams and champagne and liquor served. To me, that felt appropriate because it's sort of delightful and pleasurable and sickening. This life that Violetta is leading as a courtesan is making her physically and psychically ill. In Act 2, we first go to the country, where Violetta has rented a house for her and Alfredo to live, and all of the extravagance and the sort of drunken playfulness that is in the design has been stripped away, and Alfredo and Violetta are living this very simple life in the country together, and they seem incredibly happy, and you sort of find that in the design. In the second half of Act 2, we go to Flora's party back in Paris at Flora's house, which is in this room that has this lush red damask wallpaper. It's a Spanish-themed party. Flora has hired a theater troupe to put on the entertainment for the night. We have these bulls behind us who you will meet, and there's lots of gambling. We begin in this very sort of marshmallowy world at Violetta's house. Incredibly extravagant, incredibly complicated costumes and hair, with tons of people on stage. And by the end of the opera, Violetta, spoiler, Violetta gets sick, and she has no more money, and she is alone in her apartment, and everything, all of that has been stripped away. She has a bed and the few people who care about her in the world around her. Violetta's an amazing character. I'm especially interested in the sort of contradictory components within her. I think she's clearly like a party girl. She knows how to throw a party. She knows how to entertain all these men. And then there's this other part of her. She wants love. She wants this very simple kind of love, and she talks about dreaming of a very pure love from the time that she was a child, seemingly in contradiction to that other side of her. And then I guess I'm also really interested in Violetta's anger. She is stuck in this very brutal patriarchy where she is expected to be a certain kind of woman and to behave in a certain kind of way, and that is literally killing her. You know, she doesn't have family, she doesn't have friends, she doesn't have money, and I think she's furious about it. You sort of see that in her struggle to determine whether or not she deserves or is able to have this beautiful love with Alfredo. I think the cast is extraordinary, and I can't wait. We're just at the beginning of rehearsals, but I can't wait to see how they're going to embody these characters. The music of La Traviata is extraordinary. It's so rich. It's so enormous. It's so, just listening to it ignites your imagination and it reaches your heart. It's really some of the most extraordinary music made by man. Violetta's aria at the end of Act 1 is thrilling to watch. And to me, that is sort of all of the elements coming together. Music, it's like a Shakespearean soliloquy, to have her alone on stage after you've seen the stage filled with the entire chorus and the dancers and the supers who are wild and drunk and have stayed up all night, and then you get to encounter this woman's thoughts through music. I find it to be thrilling. I always think that nobody should have to know anything or prepare anything. They should just come with like an open heart and experience the piece and trust that it will reach them. There's no information that you need. You just need to feel it.